safe for me to come out yet? Are all the Sens fans gone, or are they all just out front in my window with all the pitchforks and everything? I make a bad joke. I never claimed to be funny. But hello, Sens fans. We meet again. Welcome to the Ottawa Senators 2022 NHL Draft recap. The Senators are a lot of fun. I can't judge. The Senators are full send, and they do their own thing, and it's always a lot of fun to watch. But we will get right into it. The Senators didn't start picking until 64th. So, look, no matter what they did, I wasn't going to be that critical. I mean, look at what they did. They traded their picks and got Alex DeBrincat. I would make the trade they made every single day, and I'm a draft guy. Why would I care about 7th overall plus when I can get one of the best young goal scorers in the entire National Hockey League? So, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about not drafting until 64th if I were an Ottawa Senator fan. So, but they did start by taking Philip Nordberg, and I was not surprised whatsoever. I thought this was a really interesting pick. I wasn't the biggest fan of Philip Nordberg this year, but again, it's like that Leon Bichsel, David Jiricek style of pick where you can see what they're trying to get at. He is a big guy who can skate pretty well. He has a decent shot from the point, I suppose. It's going to be interesting to see how his game evolves. 64, I think, is pretty high for Philip Nordberg, but I see the appeal. I'm not going to sit here and crap on the pick because I don't think it deserves it. I think when you look at the guys that went off the board pretty soon after, even the Swedes after 64th, you see guys like Halliday still on the board. Ty Nelson was still on the board. You might want to push more in that direction, but it isn't a secret now that this is what the Ottawa Senators want. They're not looking for guys like Ty Nelson and Kaliodelius with skill and creativity on the back end. They're looking for physical, sort of rangy guys that can play. And that's fine. And I think Philip Nordberg can be that. So I can't be too critical of the pick. And I feel like he's a bit of a project, but if he gets there, he'll be an interesting one to watch with the Senators. Oscar Pederson at 72. The guy scores a lot of goals. And I watched a bit of him this year. I wasn't really blown away with what I was seeing out of him, but I did like him at the U18s. I felt that his feet were stretching out a little bit more. He covered ice a little bit better as the year went on. And at 72, again, like a nice swing to make in that range. I wouldn't have done it, but I can see the appeal of a guy like Pederson, especially considering the depth of talent in this range of the draft. There was a couple of guys in this range I probably would have looked at first, but at that point, you're splitting hairs. I think Oscar Pederson could be a decent scorer at the next level. Maybe not an NHL player, but, he could make a push, I suppose. I think 72 was high, but whatever. On that note, they drafted Thomas Hamara at 87. If they had taken Hamara at 72 or 64, I could have easily understood and felt better. So that's why I'm not super concerned about Ottawa's picks in general. I like Thomas Hamara. I had him ranked lower than the average, and he went closer to where I had him ranked. A little bit, but I think, he's a nice, well-rounded offensive player, but there's not something that I can point to and go, okay, yeah, but the skill is what's going to put him over the top, or the shooting ability is what's going to put him over the top, or the skating ability. It's all very good for the under 20 level, and whenever I watched him in the Liga, he was kind of a guy. And that's not abnormal, but I think there's a bit of a ways to go for Hamara to sort of find out what he does absolutely the best and then leverage that into an NHL job. Like, I'm not exactly sure what he's going to do, but he brings interesting offensive tools. He's got some skill. He's got a decent shot from the point. He's got some good vision. It's just going to be a matter of finding a role in the NHL that works for him. At 104, they took Stephen Halliday. Would I have drafted a twice undrafted USHL player? Probably not, but if I had to pick one and you were twisting my arm, Stephen Halliday would be an interesting one. He's big. He resists pressure really, really well. You just have to be really careful with double re-entry guys in junior hockey leagues. Like the bar is really high at that point. It doesn't always not work out. Like some of these guys can work out, and I think Halliday could be one of these guys that ends up in their bottom six in Ottawa, as a forward, whether it's up the middle or along the boards as a winger. I could see it. Again, at 104, there weren't that many other guys where I'm going, yeah, I definitely need this guy. So Halliday is a solid pick in that range. Some of the ranks that I had him in that range, but we'll see what happens with him. He's big, he's got some skill, but he's very resilient, and he's pretty good on his edges, fending off pressure and creating some separation speed or separation space with his footwork. So we'll see what happens with him in college for sure. Jorian Donovan at 136. I wasn't a huge fan of Jorian Donovan. I saw him in person a couple of times this year in Hamilton. Wasn't really blown away with what I was seeing. I don't know. Is there something there? I can't say there isn't, but he wasn't really on my list, and he wouldn't have been a guy that I draft. He's another one of these CHL defenders where I'm going, maybe just because of the fact that he's a CHL guy, it puts him higher up on boards, or coaches like him more based on how he plays. And I just, in terms of impact, don't really see a whole lot there for Donovan down the road. Cameron O'Neill at 143, I had not seen since after the draft, or not. I had not seen before the draft and have only seen after it. And I think I can see why he scored so much at the level he scored at 18U AAA this year. He's big, and he gets up the ice with a lot of intensity, and he creates a lot of power with his frame. I think he's got some good skill to sort of get pucks through traffic here and there, like one-on-one. He can kind of beat guys in little pockets of space and getting chances. Standing in good scoring position as well. He's got a good release, which I think got him some good scoring opportunities. But I didn't see a whole lot that was like massively high end, and 18U AAA production is very, very difficult to project. I would just say stash him in college. If he needs another year in the USHL, then send him there. Then you send him to college. But he's a hard worker, and I think he reads the ice pretty well and gets his chances for a reason, and I think that counts for something, so who knows with him. Kevin Riedler at 151. Played decently well at the U18 level in Sweden. Didn't play very well when he did get a chance at the under-20 level. He's big. He'll face a lot of pucks playing for the team he plays for in Sweden and AIK. I don't know what else to tell you about him. Strap in and see where he is in a few years. Theo Wahlberg at 168, though. I liked him a lot more than I liked Jorian Donovan and Cameron O'Neill, so I thought that was a really neat pickup for Ottawa in that range. Like, I didn't have him ranked, but if someone brought his name up later in the draft, I'd go, yeah, you know what? Let's take a chance on him. He's 6'3", I think. He's a pretty big kid, rangy. He's got some skill. He sees the ice really well. Makes a good first pass. As much as that sounds boring, it counts. It counts for something. And if you can leverage the skill and maybe get him to turn that sort of lateral fluidity and mobility into getting pucks up the ice himself and sort of engaging a little more offensively, then maybe there could be something there for Theo Wahlberg. I was a fan of that pick. At 206, they took Tyson Dyck. I would not have drafted him, even though he scored a ton for Cranbrook in the BCHL this year. He was very productive, but I was not really blown away watching him over the course of this season. I didn't even consider tracking him. I just figured I'm going to like other players a lot more than Tyson Dyck. So we'll see what happens with a guy like this. You send him to college and you see what happens, but he was a guy who drove a lot from being in the right place at the right time and just making smart plays here and there in the BCHL level, which, I don't know, I found it kind of hard to see him really projecting. Like, if there was a BCHL guy I would have taken a flyer on at 206, it would have been like Josh Nadeau, but I can understand why Josh Nadeau didn't get picked because he's 5'8" and, not super hefty. Not that Tyson Dyck is massive, but he's not 5'8". So anyway, that does it for the Ottawa Senators. I thought they actually had a pretty decent draft. I'm giving them a 2D. Nordberg I think is an interesting pickup. I wouldn't have done it, but I get it. Oscar Pederson is an interesting one at 72. I liked Thomas Hamara at 87. Stephen Halliday at 104. I kind of liked what I saw of Halliday this year. It's just a matter of how much more you're going to get out of him, considering he's already 20 years old almost. Jorian Donovan and Cameron O'Neill, we'll see what happens. I like Theo Wahlberg and the rest of their picks. We'll see. Could be pleasant surprises, but nothing overwhelming here for Ottawa, I don't think. Could they have done better? I think absolutely that's true. They could have swung higher on certain brands of players at 64 especially, but I get the appeal with Philip Nordberg. So they get a relatively solid score, right around average, I would say, and they're going to end up right in the middle of the leaderboard, and I think that's perfectly acceptable, even considering where they started picking in the draft. So, Sens fans, I hope that was done to your liking. Love you very much. Go Sens, go. And next video, we're going to be going to the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow. I think there's going to be some players in there that fans of this channel might really like to hear about. So stay tuned for that one, and we'll see you then.